This is the Art of Network Engineering podcast. In this podcast, we'll explore tools, technologies, and talented people. We aim to bring you information that will expand your skill sets and toolbox and share the stories of fellow network engineers.
Welcome to the Art of Network Engineering. I am Tim Bertino, and I am joined by a good friend of mine who I've actually just seen in person recently for the second time ever, Lexi Cooper. What's happening, Lexi?
Hey, Tim. Yeah, that was so much fun. We're at the Juniper, what's the full name now? I keep mixing it up in my head. Juniper Enterprise Analyst
and Influencer Summit.
Yes. Thank
Period.
you. 2023. Yeah, that was a blast. Yeah, it was a blast. Thanks to Juniper for having us there. Gave us a reason to see each other in person again for the first time in over a year. It was awesome.
I do think I need to give up on humor though, because it's all, get this, it's all Andy's fault. So
it's always Andy's fault.
Andy couldn't make it to the summit, right? So we decided that we wanted some way to have him there. So my lovely wife printed a picture of Andy, a nice 8x10. I put it in a frame, took it all the way there. First time Andy screwed me with this whole thing is I wasn't even thinking, right? I took some pictures of it. It was funny. I went back to the hotel room. I wasn't even thinking. My dumbass puts the picture standing up because it's in a frame, puts a picture on the nightstand in between the two beds. I come back to the hotel room the next day, and obviously housekeeping has been there. And I walk in and I see it. I'm like, oh shit. I probably look like the weirdest dude in the world having this picture of a grown-ass man on the nightstand.
No, Tim, you know what that housekeeper thought? She thought, oh man, this man must really love this man whose picture he has on his nightstand. You know what? That is true, is it not?
It is.
That is not inaccurate. You love Andy. So
but then housekeeping took it a step further. And they left me a note. I think they were just being kind. I think they did it to everybody. They left me I see there was a sticky note pad, and on the very top sticky note there was a note that said "Have a nice day," and it was attached right to Andy. So, like, yeah, they think I'm a freak.
Covering his face?
No, I was just sitting right in front of him on the frame. And then so that was the first time Andy messed me up. Second time, the rest of you were involved. It was later that night. We wanted to get a group picture of us with Andy. So we were sitting by the bar. We had it on the table. We were all around it. We thought it was the cute. Well, maybe a little bit. We thought it was the cutest thing in the world. We take this picture, we put it on Twitter, and immediately people start responding, thinking that Andy is dead and this picture is a memorial of his life. And I'm like, I can't do funny anymore. I just screwed up every time.
No, that was truly the funniest. Besides the commercial that Juniper showed us, that was the funniest thing about that trip for sure. Like,
yeah, we had a good time out of it.
R.I.P. Andy. Yeah.
But
that was a good trip.
I digress. I cut you off. How are you?
No, you're fine. I'm doing well. Had a very busy day today. Glad to be here with my pals chatting. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm good. I'm glad I got that Andy story off my chest. I always seem to have to do that.
It's a good story. Yeah.
Joining Lexi and I, this is a bit of a crossover. We have world-class squasher, all-around cloud enthusiast, and American werewolf of Sydney, the BGP main, Chris Miles. What's happening, Chris?
Hello. Yeah. Thanks for having me. You've kind of inspired me. I think now when I start traveling, I'm going to take a picture of Andy. We might as well spread the love wherever we can. I think that's a good idea.
That is a great idea. We should all travel with Andy.
It's like, what do you call it? Like a flat Stanley? Is that what his name is? But a flat Andy?
A flat Andy.
There you go. Yeah. Perfect. But yeah, things are going well here, man.
Well, Chris, we thank you for joining us, and now let's introduce. We have another guest with us. So first off, we have hit the friggin' jackpot lately with guest names. So a while back we had Jeremy Stretch, clearly the secret identity name of a superhero. Then we had Kaiser Clark. I think I called him a secret agent / fighter pilot. And now we have Dakota Snow, which obviously a spy who's been burned by his host country because he learned the secrets finally that he was never supposed to know. He learned the truth, and now he's on the run. So Dakota Snow, welcome to the show, and how does it feel to be on the run?
It feels good. It feels good. Keeps me on my toes.
We're going to uncover all that today.
We appreciate you joining. I think our listeners will find you very familiar. You're a very prolific YouTuber and podcaster. So why don't you give us a little bit of a background? How did you originally get into technology? What was kind of the bug that bit you, and where are you now?
Well, first off, again, thank you for having me. I got a unique origin story, I guess you could say. So before I got into tech, I was a bulldozer operator. Out of all the trades, I'd worked production jobs all my life. I was a bulldozer operator, and I was driving the bulldozer super late at night. It was like 3:00 in the morning, and I just had this overwhelming feeling that I hate my job. I am so sick of doing work just to put food on the table and keep a roof over my head, my family's head. And don't get me wrong, I love my family. I want to support them. But at the time, I was just like, why am I doing this? And I kind of thought of, like, okay, what else would I do? And I thought back to high school, and I was super fortunate. My high school actually had a Cisco CCNA course. So right out of high school, I was CCNA certified. And I'm like, you know what? I want to get into the technology field. I wanted to get into tech. I've always had a huge passion for tech. So I went to my wife and said, look, this is what I want to do. It might require us to even move for us to be able to find a job, but this is what I'd like to do. And she supported me through the whole journey. So I started kind of doing some studying, some research, got some certifications, and ended up landing a job in the IT field. And it was a dream job, to be honest with you. It was, I think, one of the luckiest first jobs anyone could get. I was an IT support specialist starting out for a hotel company. I got a ride in private corporate jets when I traveled to different hotels.
Whoa.
Company vehicles were like Porsches, Teslas, and stuff. Super, super fun. But it did require a lot of travel. So I ended up leaving that job after some time, landed a job working for a local ISP. And within my first 90 days there, they said, you know what, you're doing such a good job. We're going to end up promoting you to director of network operations. So that's where I'm at now. And during the journey, I started my YouTube channel, The Bearded IT Dad, to give back to the community and help motivate other people to pursue their dreams in technology.
So can I ask right off the bat, you mentioned that you graduated high school with a CCNA, right? So, but then after that, you didn't, work in networking right out of high school or anything like that. Okay. I'm curious why not? Like, was it just not something you were interested at the time, or?
Girls. I was more interested in girls at the time, just to be 100% honest.
That's fair.
And it's unfortunate because back in the day, the CCNA was sought after even more than it is currently. It was like 99% job placement out once you had a CCNA. And I went to college. I flunked out of college because of girls. And then I just started doing jobs to, support myself. And I don't know, I just didn't even think about going back to really what I loved. I just went into autopilot and started doing what I had to do. And it took me a long time to come back around to realize I need to do what I love.
Okay, that's totally fair. I feel like a lot of people probably, I definitely started doing stuff like that, right? I graduated and I was just like, I guess I'll just do whatever. I don't know. When you're that young, it's like, it's tough,
Exactly.
right? To make a decision for the rest of your life. So it's really cool to hear how you moved into tech. So was there like a pivot point for you when you said, you were working as a bulldozer operator, right? And you said, I am so done with it. Like, was there a moment, or was it more of like a slow realization?
No, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was working late, and I don't know really what triggered it, but I started getting super bad anxiety about it, like how much I hated my job and wanted to get out. And like it was crippling anxiety. It made it really difficult to just function as a human being. And when I finally came to the decision that I'm going to get into tech, it was just like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Even before I landed a job, it took me a couple months to, start figuring out what I wanted to do in tech, start applying for jobs and getting out networking. But as soon as I decided this is what I wanted to do and I had the support of my family, it was a no brainer. Just it all flowed like it should.
Yeah, I'm curious. So when you were in high school and you were in like the CCNA course in high school, which first of all, that's amazing that you had that opportunity, because I wish that was presented to me when I was in high school. But so did networking kind of like come naturally to you? Because if I'll be honest, if you proposed working in networking to me when I was in high school, I would have been like, hell no. Like, I do not want to do that. Like, I wasn't a very tech focused person when I was younger. Like, I didn't build computers. I didn't do any of this stuff. So I came in like kind of fresh, right? Never really worked with technology. So what were you drawn to it younger, and then did you kind of refine that passion when you came back, or how did that work?
I was, I had a really good instructor at our high school that was really passionate about technology. I was originally in my freshman year, I was in his electronics class, and then my teacher came to me and was like, "Hey, you're doing really good. I think you should, enroll in our Cisco class. I think you'd be a natural." And I don't know, it did just come to me. It just clicked. I understood everything. We're talking back in the Netacad days, and I remember my instructor telling me wireless N is never going to catch on. It's so unsecure. I remember him telling me that, and but it just I enjoyed it. I instantly, like, back in the day, you couldn't go out and buy used equipment because it was still crazy expensive. So we had a rack at our school where I'd go in on my lunch breaks and work on on the lab environment there to practice and learn things. And I don't know, it just came easy to me. So when I decided to get back into tech, initially I kind of thought I'm going to get into cybersecurity. And I think almost everyone that is looking to get into IT kind of thinks that, in all honesty. And then they realize, oh, it's not as cool and sexy as it sounds. And then I thought back to my high school days of doing networking. I'm like, well, I'm going to do networking. And when I first got my first job, as an IT support specialist, I was doing a lot of help desking things. I was resetting tickets and stuff, but I really made an emphasis on talking about my passion for networking. And by the time I left that company 2 years later, I was designing the complete IT infrastructure for all our brand new hotels we were building. I was sitting into the meetings with the engineers and product managers and the construction companies. And I'm like, okay, this is where our APs are going. I designed them in 3D space and, calculated the signal penetration through the walls and everything, and just ran wild with it. So does that answer your question there?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. God, man, I can't imagine what it was like working in like the hotel industry. Cause like I said, when I was doing tech support, when I was younger, I was in the network operations center there. And a lot of our clients were these high-end hotels, and a lot of these TV broadcast systems. That was like the bane of my existence, man. Like troubleshooting like TV for hotel patrons. So I can only imagine.
IPTV and
right, yeah.
IPTV, and then we're looking at set top boxes for like Google. Google has their own like streaming service in a way for hotel industries, like a Chromecast just designed for the hotels.
Right.
And that was a lot of fun. So
you've spent some time obviously is a deeply technical person, and you said your role now is director of network operations. So are you in a leadership role, managing people? Do you still have your hands on the tech? What does that role look like?
So I kind of have, I work for a unique organization. We're a local internet service provider. We deliver fiber optic internet to the home. And we're a small municipality owned organization. So I get to be kind of a jack of all trades where I am in a leadership role where I'm managing teams and working with vendors and, our providers. But I also am still daily getting my hands dirty, especially, during outages. Um, we had an instance last winter where we had a super bad rainstorm came in, and a lot of our techs were out, and I ended up having to go hop in one of our bucket trucks and go around. And we had these, we were just deploying these network switches for a community Wi-Fi project in these like boxes up on a pole. And we found out the boxes were leaking and the switches were shorting out. We had like thousands of dollars equipment. And so I go to my boss. I'm like, I've been in a bucket truck before. Have heavy equipment experience. Let me just go out and I'm going to go round up all these switches. So that's kind of a unique situation where someone that would normally be stuck at a desk job, not get to touch all the tech, had to go out in the field and get my hands dirty. So I really enjoy that not all organizations are like that, especially as you start getting into these larger organizations. You tend to get really siloed off, where with these smaller organizations, you get a lot more variety.
I'm curious. So, something that stuck out to me immediately is like you were in the trenches, and then all of a sudden, after like a very short period of time, relatively, you were director of ITOPS. Like, I feel like that is an unusual thing for somebody after only just a little bit of time to move there. And so that's an awesome accomplishment. But I think probably my first question is, how did you do that? How did you get all the necessary experience and knowledge to go from like network engineer all the way up to director in such a short period of time?
It's not a common case scenario. After I was even hired, my boss came to me and said, look, there was other people with, bachelor's degrees and that definitely had more qualifications. And when we called them to turn them down, they were quite upset. Like, how could there be someone more qualified than me? And here I am with, seriously, the only certifications I really have is like CompTIA A+ currently still, and like a Cisco Meraki certification. How is someone like me able to land that stable job? But it all came down to my drive, motivation, and my teamwork. My boss saw something in me that I didn't even see myself, that how I was a good team player. I took full pride and ownership in the network operations center when I was working in there. He just saw like this diamond in the rough, I guess, not to toot my own horn too much there, but
oh no, that's great. Yeah.
I made it my mission to know every possible in and out of every piece of equipment we had. And that didn't go unnoticed. I wasn't doing it intentionally to like try to impress him. I mean, I was a new hire, so I guess I was trying to impress him, but I didn't know there was an opportunity to move up into a director level position.
Yeah. So did he approach you with this offer? Like, I think you should go for this? Wow.
He actually, so I was sitting down at my 90-day review, and the position technically truly didn't even exist. There was some restructuring in the company that had left some things, vacated for a long time. And I'm sitting here with him at my 90-day review, which was longer than 90 days. I was at the company for a couple months at the time. He was like, you've come in and exceeded every expectation that we have set, in front of you, every goal, and you've really taken pride and ownership. And that is someone that's what I've been looking for a long time for this network operations center. And I would like to, I would like to know what you would think about potentially being, moving up into a director level position. And to be honest with you, I was speechless. I didn't know what to think. I was shocked and super excited and not trying to show any of it at the same time. I'm trying not to show all my cards. And I'm like, yeah, that would be interesting. I think I could do that. And so we, it was drinking by a fire hose. Like you said, I didn't have the experience and all the knowledge. So I was at quite the disadvantage. I was learning on the fly, and there were situations I had to make sure I was prepared for, when, we're having hard down outages, and, I have several cities. Like if something goes out in my network operations center, we're talking several cities, several 911 emergency dispatchers. They don't have their connection, phone lines, internet, all go down, and that all rests on my shoulder. So I had to quickly learn and study up how to prepare for these situations. I reached out to, our TAC department, and started getting communication lines set up there, and just I made it my mission to do the best I could, and it's been working for 2 years so far. So I must have been doing something right.
That's awesome. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that in the whole culture of organizations. We've brought this up before. I mean, you can have 2 or more people going for the same job. You could have someone who is just completely technically advanced that is going to have a hard time getting along with people. They may have a hard time finding motivation, but they're really smart. But you could have somebody else who may be a little less seasoned, not as knowledgeable, but they are asking all the questions, they're volunteering for all the things, and they're able to communicate with teammates and the customers. It seems that we hear time and time again that second person is the one who's going to get the chance more often, because while we all work in technology, it's so much more than that. Technology is just a piece of it, and you have to be a communicator. You have to play well with others. You have to understand the vision and the mission of the organization. So that's something that we never want to just gloss over. And it's cool that you were given that chance and have really grabbed onto it, because I just go back to the whole culture thing. And if you can get into an organization where they're going to invest in you and they really kind of just put it on you to figure out your path, as long as you are contributing to the organization, that's how you retain people, right?
That's how you grow your career. That's how you grow an organization. And I say it all the time on my YouTube channel. Gone are the days of the basement IT department, the dimly lit room that smells like old pizza boxes and dirty socks. IT is customer service oriented, no matter what position you're in. You have to be able to communicate with people. That's the most important skill you can have. And if you are a good communicator, all the other skills can be taught on the job. So if you can communicate with people, communicate with non-technical people, you're going to go super far in this career field.
Definitely. Yeah. You're a content creator, right? You have a podcast, YouTube channel. What do you have anything else going on? I'm spitballing here. Sorry.
No, I have a YouTube channel called The Bearded IT Dad. That's where like most of my content creation all evolves around. We're on TikTok, pretty much all the social media platforms. We do have a podcast that we just started up recently, where we're interviewing IT professionals and getting their advice, because I don't know it all. I've only been in the field for 4+ years. And there's so many great stories and information out there that, and advice I can't share. So I've started bringing on those people. But it's all been about, go ahead.
Which piece came first? Was it YouTube? You said you just started a podcast, right? So.
Yep. YouTube was my first bit there. I started on YouTube, and, it was actually when I first got into tech. I'm so sorry about the dog barking in the background. When I first got into tech, I watched a lot of YouTube videos to kind of learn a lot of the skills. And one of the YouTubers I watched convinced me actually to start my YouTube channel. He's like, you would be a great teacher. You just have a way of describing things. I think you should create a YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to be on camera. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought of it as the best way to learn something is to teach it. And the main thing I focused on was my soft skills first, and which was the ability to talk to the camera and knowing that potentially tens of thousands of people are going to be watching this. Once I got over that fear, I started working on other things, and went on from there.
Okay, so
That's
your
awesome.
motivation was to kind of instruct and teach people.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
I gotta say, I don't know if we've ever talked about it from quite that angle before, where like Dakota, you just said you're working on your soft skills, and how you did that was teaching through YouTube. I'm not sure we've ever actually totally like hit that nail on the head exactly
I don't think
here
so.
on the podcast. Yeah, like it is a great way to practice your soft skills, just getting in front of a camera and talking. It can potentially probably be scarier than like talking one-on-one with people or even in a group.
It can.
Of that audience. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I started off with just doing recorded videos, and because I felt that was easier. But then I stepped up into live streams where you had to start thinking on the fly. You had people responding and commenting to any mistakes you made, and which took it to another level. Yeah. So, I learned how to start adapting on the fly, and, having things prepared. And that really helped because, we've all been there where we have that, C-level person come into your office and ask a really pressing question that you might not even have the answer to. You got to be able to handle the situation in a way that they're going to be satisfied with whatever response you give them. Because you'll learn quickly, if the big bosses are happy, your boss is going to be happy with you. And I lived through that at my organization. I quickly made friends with the owners of the company just because I talked to them, in a way that they would understand that I wasn't talking down to them. And I just learned to talk, think quickly on my feet, and that goes a long way.
Definitely a good skill to have.
Yeah, I think that's pretty admirable that you decided to jump into content creation after, as you said, only being in the field for a few years. Because like I've been here for like 13 plus years, and I just decided to maybe start doing it, and I had the help of all these guys to kind of give me a plateau to jump off of, right? So I was like, at least I can ride their coattails, and I don't have to deal with all the negative aspects alone. But yeah, you kind of just jumped in. Without, I'm assuming you don't have like a team or anything like that. So you kind of, what motivated you to make that switch? Was it more about telling your story or giving back? What was the main motivator there?
The main motivation was, it's always been about giving back to the community. It was YouTubers that helped convince me to get my start in the IT field. It was late night watching YouTube videos as I was trying to get into the IT field that kind of gave me the motivation that, hey, I actually can do this, and helped me make that switch. So when I got into the IT field, I wanted to be that for someone else. And creating these YouTube videos is really, at first I started just creating basic videos talking about the different certifications out there. Then I started, doing holiday giveaways where, like, last year we did a holiday giveaway where we gave away like, vouchers for certifications, 1-year subscriptions to online learning platforms. We gave away $50,000 worth of training material back to the community.
Whoa.
And it was all around just trying to give other people that leg up to get started, to conquer that fear. Like, it's very intimidating to make a career change, especially if you've been in a career for a long time and like you have a sure thing. It's terrifying to take that step out, that leap of faith into the unknown and start all over again. So if I can give someone that little bit of a nudge that, hey, this isn't that bad, this is doable. You don't have to have these certifications to land a job. Anyone can get started in the tech field if they're determined enough. That's what I want to do. And it's slowly evolved. Now I do career coaching, and it was interesting. Like the very first career coaching session I did with someone, they had been searching for a job for months and no luck. They'd gone on interviews and been turned down. I sat down and did a career coaching session with him. And, we spent an hour going over his resume and talking about a game plan for his future. That was on a Monday. That Friday, he called me. He's like, "Hey, I have 5 different interviews lined up." And,
Wow.
yeah, so it was just like super rewarding. And it just cemented in my mind, this is what I'm meant to do.
So let's highlight a couple of these YouTube videos to give some folks a sneak peek. I believe both of these that I wanted to discuss are fairly new. The first one is top 5 tech support things I wish I knew when I started. Can you run down a few of those for us?
Yeah, I literally just released that one today. So the number one thing I tell everyone is you don't need IT certifications to apply for that very first job in the IT field. It's a big misconception. I hear a lot of people come to me like, "Hey, I want to get into tech. I'm going to get this certification, and then I'm going to apply for a job." And I always tell them, no, that's the absolute wrong way to do it. If anything, that might even hurt you in the job market. What you need to do is start applying for jobs first thing, because you don't a lot of times need a certification to land that entry level help desk job. You just need to be a good communicator, like we were talking about. And then once you get into that initial job, start studying for your certifications for that next level job that you want to get. So that's one of my biggest things I tell everyone. And I'm proof of it. I was able, when I first got my first job, I was studying for the A+, but I didn't even have the A+ yet. So I had no degree, no IT certifications, and no prior work experience. But the biggest thing that's going to give you a leg up is that work experience. So the sooner you can start working in the tech field, the better. One of the other things I let people know is, this IT is a high stress job sometimes, especially when, stuff doesn't work, when the system goes down at 3:00 in the morning, or even worse, it goes down at lunchtime and your payment processor goes offline and you got your boss breathing down your neck. Why isn't this working? So it really helps and makes a difference knowing that going in, that you're going to have those situations, and it's not always like this, but just to be able to prepare yourself, get yourself in a proper mental state is really key to avoiding burnout. Burnout is actually a bigger deal than a lot of people think in the IT field. A lot of times, especially if you're working for a bigger organization, tasks can become really repetitive. You start doing the same thing over and over again, and you just start dreading going to work. And I reached that in my tech career field already. I got to a point where I started to dread coming into work, and I kind of took a second. I'm like, wait a minute, why am I unhappy? I made this career change to continue being happy. And so I made a pivot into the job position I have now. And, it's just something you need to be conscious of at all times, that, mental health is something that I don't think gets talked about enough in the IT field. But if you create systems and plans, it really, shouldn't be that big of an impact to you.
That's good advice. The repetition part really speaks to me. Just the other day, I was whining on Twitter about having to do something 200 times in the space of an hour, and it was the most annoying thing ever. But that's what automation is for, right? It's here to take away all of our burnout and deliver us from terrible repetitive tasks.
Yep.
I like
in a perfect world.
I like the advice on not necessarily waiting until you quote think you're ready to try to jump into something, because you said the experience is huge. And even if you're wanting to continue education and go after certifications, if you find that right organization with the good culture, you can find that those
Absolutely.
companies will invest in you and maybe pay for training material, maybe pay for certification exams, give you time to study on the clock potentially. So yeah, don't wait for the perfect thing, and just jump in when you can.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
not to mention, like, on the job experience, we all know that that's probably the most valuable thing. You see that on every job posting, right? That they want that. But yeah, another thing I like that what you said is like you touched on your content you're putting out. You're not putting out like the most like overly technical videos or anything like that. You're more focused on kind of soft skills, getting into the market, how to navigate the market as well, the job market. And I think that's really cool, because that feels like it's kind of representative of how you played to your strengths to get to a director position, right? Because like you have to
Absolutely.
You have to be comfortable in not being the most technical, the expert in certain things. But if you have the ability to empower people, mobilize people, like that's worth its weight in gold, right? And I think that probably helped you get where you got in such a short time, and then you're kind of taking that and putting it into your content. So I think that's really interesting.
Absolutely. And another thing I want to kind of add on to this is, you're not expected to know it all, especially when you're just starting out an organization. So many people are scared that we call it imposter syndrome in the tech field. And I think almost everyone who at some point in their career in the tech field has dealt with imposter syndrome, which means like, gosh, any day they're going to figure out that I'm a complete idiot, that I don't know what I'm doing. And that's not the case. Your hiring manager, when they hire you, they know exactly what they're getting into, to be honest with you. Most hiring managers understand that you're not going to know it all, but the key thing is they want to know your troubleshooting abilities. How are you going to figure it out? During your interview, don't stress out if you get asked a question that you don't know the answer to. Say, you know what? Sorry, I don't know how that works, but let me tell you how I would go find those answers, and then go and walk them through your your troubleshooting mindset. Explain to them how you're going to figure out that problem. A lot of times that's exactly what those hiring managers are looking for. They want to see that you have the ability, the knowledge on how to find answers, and the drive and willingness to figure it out. They don't want to hire someone that I don't know how that works. Escalate to tier 3. No one wants that. They want someone who is a go-getter and is going to figure it out. So don't be scared that you don't know everything. No one knows everything, and no one can be an expert on anything with how fast the technology field is advancing. Just have the drive and willingness to learn, and you're going to do great.
Yeah, I've heard that too on interviews where the interviewers will ask questions that they know that people most likely aren't going to know the answers to, but they want to see how they're going to react. They want to see if they're going to tell the truth, if they're going to try to BS and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's some interesting advice to, even if you don't know the answer, I think that it's important to be truthful and don't try to make up the answer, but taking it the step further and saying, I'm not sure about that, but here's 1, 2, and 3 steps of what I would do to get me to the next step to trying to find the answer. I think that's some good advice there.
Absolutely. And here's some industry, insider secret that really no one wants you to know. We all use Google.
Yeah,
we all Google everything. we're just
now it's ChatGPT.
That's how it works in the IT field, and it is perfectly acceptable.
IT directors hate this one simple trick.
Exactly. That sounds like there's my next video title right there.
Some good clickbait there, Lexi. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other video that stuck out to me, a recent one. We all know how prevalent we got Chris sitting with us here tonight. We know how prevalent cloud is these days. The other video I wanted to call out was what hiring managers at AWS look for. Can you break down that one for us?
Yeah, that was a fun video I did. That was actually an interview I did with a hiring manager working for AWS. And, we talked about, we kind of broke down some of the walls. A lot of people hear AWS and think it's a big, scary organization. And it is. It is absolutely, a big organization. And we kind of broke down some myths and demystified some of the things that, you need to actually land a job. We talked about some of the ways you can format your resume. One thing I like to do, and we talked about in this video, is almost have a resume for every style of job that you're applying for. You'll have your networking engineer resume, you'll have your network analyst resume, and each one you're going to tweak for every job you apply for those key skills that they're looking for that you actually possess. A lot of hiring managers are using automated HR screening filters, and if you don't have the right keywords in your resume, you're not going to even get looked at by a human. You're instantly going to get discarded. And we talked about several things you can do to your resume to enhance it. Most companies, their job postings are a wish list. They sometimes they're even created by someone that doesn't even have a clue what the job is. They've just copied it off of some other job board. So we talked about how if this certain organization requires like an IT certificate, for example, that you don't possess, but you are maybe currently studying for, go ahead and list that on your resume and say, you know, like for instance, when I first got into IT field, I didn't have my A plus. I listed that the A plus on my resume and said, I am currently studying for the A plus and I have scheduled my final exam for this date. And that will do several things for you. One, it will show to your future employer that you have the motivation to go out on your own and study for these IT certifications when no one's requiring it. Two, it'll get you past those HR screening filters that are looking for CompTIA A plus on your resume, and get that resume into the actual hands of someone, to maybe make a decision whether or not they're going to invite you for an interview. Now, by all means, I'm not telling you to lie on your resume, because that is the worst thing to do. And as soon as you go into that interview, those hiring managers are going to look right through you. They're going to know that you lied. But, be truthful. If you're studying for a certification, go ahead and schedule that a certification end date and, list that information on your resume. And that will go a long way. It's practically as good as having the certifications, because most employers will like, okay, we'll give you 6 months to get this. We're going to hire you and we'll give you 6 months to get this certification. So that's some things we talked about during that video.
You also have a video about top 10 IT certifications that you recommend. And
yes.
I actually love that, because some of the questions that I get a lot are like, which one should I go for? Like, this is so confusing. And I'm always just like, I don't know. I don't even know which one I should go for. Right. So it's a helpful video, right? Would you mind talking a little bit about what you say in that video about those certs that you recommend?
So, I always get the question, and I think a lot of people in my situation, like content creators, oh, what certification should I get? Well, my biggest thing is, what do you want to do? What career path do you want to pursue? You'd be surprised how many people don't even know the answer to that question. And my biggest thing is, I talk about certifications as in they're not for your current job. They're for your next job you're going to get. They're for your career path. If you want to get into cybersecurity, okay, what do you want to do in cybersecurity? Do you want to be a penetration tester? Do you want to be a security analyst? Do you want to be red team, blue team, purple team, orange team? What do you want to do? Literally today I was asked the question of, should, someone was interested in, cloud computing and they wanted to look into Microsoft's AI certifications. And I said, well, is that what you want to do? If it's not what you want to do, then don't get it. Don't get a certification just because you think it will make you a lot of money, because you really, at the end of the day, need to have a passion for it to be able to excel. So, when you're deciding what certifications to get, you really need to decide what interests you the most, because you're going to be the most successful at getting that certification and really excelling in that career field. So figure out, first of all, what you want to do. Then figure out what employers are looking for in that job field. Start looking at some of your local companies that are hiring, see what certifications they are looking for. If you're interested in cloud, is the organizations in your area, do they mainly use AWS or do they use Azure? If you're interested in cybersecurity, if you want to get a job with like the DoD or a lot of government agencies, they almost require you to have the CompTIA Security Plus. That would be a good certification to get if you want to look into getting a government job in cybersecurity. Start looking at what organizations actually require, because a lot of times, a lot of these certifications out there, you'll find out if you start looking around that no one's looking for this certain certification. And I don't want to name any certain certifications in particularly, but there are certifications out there that, are better than others to get because more employers understand them, like the Cisco CCNA versus the Network Plus certification. Both are great certifications from really two companies that set the bar when it comes to certifications. But at the end of the line, more companies out there recognize the Cisco CCNA, even though it's a vendor specific certification, just because Cisco has really set the bar when it comes to certifications, and they have a lot better reputation and are a lot more well known. So if you're deciding like, I want to get into networking, which one I should take, start looking at what everyone wants out there.
Really good advice to actually like do your research on what companies in your area or where you're interested in working actually want. I feel like a lot of people do just sort of, especially at the beginning of their careers, they'll take a look at all the certs and they'll just sort of like maybe feel out one and then they'll just like go a little bit nuts with it, right? And they'll collect a lot of certs without really exploring what they're passionate about. Chris is pointing at himself. Without
exactly
really,
what I did, yeah.
okay, without
Yeah.
really exploring what they're passionate about, right? And I know we talk about passion in IT, and like that can be hard sometimes when you're really just trying to get a job. Totally understandable. But at some point, you do have enough experience and hands-on, stuff going on that you can sort of feel out what interests you more than other stuff, at least, right? So I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one way I kind of like to look at it is it should kind of be a ladder effect where, you get one or two certifications, and by the time you have those certifications, you really honestly should be looking for that next job to kind of level up. And, because you need the experience that matches those certifications, where if you go out and get like 5 or 6 certifications and then you try to make that jump up to that job, you're going to find it a lot more difficult. And I've seen it time and time again where someone will look to get into the IT field and they have like 6 certifications. And I instantly am like, whoa, this person do brain dumps? Like, do they truly know this knowledge? Because they haven't actually worked a day in IT. How much of this are they actually remembering? So that's, I think I talked about that earlier in the video where, having too many certifications can actually hurt you if you don't have the experience to back it up. So, get a couple, that's where, again, those certifications are for your next job. And as soon as you have those certifications, look to level up your career at the same rate you're leveling up your certifications.
Yeah, so certification should not be treated as Pokemon. You're not out here trying to get every single one of them, right? You
gotta catch them all.
Yeah.
I'm creating a video right now talking about, so CompTIA has like the CompTIA trifecta, the A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus. And I talk about, do you need all 3 certifications? Because that's the most common certifications that people get coming into the field. And to be honest with you, no. I don't think there's really any scenario that you should necessarily have all 3 certifications.
Yeah, they're all kind of different material, not totally different, but like different enough material. It's like 3 sort of different, almost career tracks. I feel like there.
Exactly. And if you are focused on your career and you know what you want, there's really there's a lot of overlap between those certifications, and they all branch out into different directions. So like if you want to be in security, fine, get the A+, and then go for a Security Plus. And in all honesty, I recommend getting a networking certification too, but not necessarily the Network Plus. Like, there is a different path I recommend, but focus on the track you want to go. Don't just try to gotta catch them all.
So you talked about creating videos. I kind of want to break that down a little bit because I've watched a few of your videos, and you've got really cool clips that you add in and transitions and that kind of stuff. Is how much effort is behind that? How difficult is it to put those videos together?
So a 6-hour video on average takes me about, a 6-minute video.
Man, you were creating a couple Godfathers in one video, right?
Yeah,
there.
No. So a 6-minute video on average takes me 3 to 4 hours to edit. And part of that's just because I'm a crappy editor. I've done a lot of studying of, I want to make engaging content, because the more engaging content I make, the more information I can share to, help people out. No one wants to watch just a horribly made video and make it sound like I'm talking into a potato. You know what I mean? So I've invested in myself just as much as I've done with IT. Is I've invested into my video making. And I've gone out and studied, I've spent money to go to conferences. Like this year, again, I'm going to Vid Summit, which is a conference based for, like, it's designed for content creators to help learn skills to level up your content creation. I probably spend about 2 hours a day watching videos, or, 2 hours is a bit extreme. I probably spend about an hour every single day watching videos or listening to a podcast about content creation, just to try to keep up with the latest trends. Okay, should I make YouTube shorts now? Do I go to TikTok? Do I need to change the scene every 5 seconds in the video to keep retention? I want to make the best possible content for people so they enjoy watching it and they continue to learn along with me in my journey.
How do you do that? Because I am exhausted and I don't even really give a shit if my stuff is good or not. Right. And there's so many platforms to make content on. How do you, how?
So what I do is one thing I do is like batch record. So like I'll try to find a time where when I sit down, I'll try to record 2 or 3 videos at once. And that way I can be slowly editing and turning them out. One thing I've been really trying to strive for this year is being consistent, like releasing content on a consistent schedule. And I'm slowly getting there. Like my podcast, the audio version comes out every Monday. The video version comes out every Tuesday. Wednesday, I typically try to release a YouTube short or a TikTok. Thursday, I'll do a recorded video where like the one I just released today is the 5 things you should know before starting in the career field. And then Friday or Saturday, I'll try to do a live stream. And on top of this, I work a full-time job.
Yeah.
I have 3 kids,
yeah. But
talk
about having a passion for it because you have to.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I want to be successful. I want to be successful. Like tonight, when I'm done with this interview, I'm going to go do my dishes and I'm going to have like a podcast on, or I watch other channels like Think Media or Colin and Samir, where they interview other YouTubers, like the big guns, like, Mr. Beast and stuff. And I try to break down what works for them and how I can apply it to the content I'm creating to make my message better heard. Because I think the more people I can help, that's my goal at the end of the day. I want to help as many people as possible, to achieve their career dreams. It all goes back to that. For me, it was another YouTuber that gave me the kick in the pants that I needed to go out and start applying for jobs. And I want to continue to be that for other people. So to be able to do that, to be able to achieve my mission, I got to make the best content possible.
Yeah, it's a trickle down effect, right?
So.
Yeah, that's a noble effort for sure.
Yeah, and I've actually just brought on an editor to edit my long form videos for my podcast. The interview actually I did with Lexi over on my channel was the first video that I had an editor actually edit, and I was scared to kind of release some of that creative control to an editor. And then when he sent me back the video, I was just blown away. Like, wow, this is great. And I'm not getting burnt out from, spending like 10 hours a day on this. So, that was one thing I decided early on, as soon as I got monetized, that I wasn't going to pay myself at all. I was going to just start reinvesting the funds back into the channel to make better content. And that's what I've done. I didn't get monetized till this year, and I've been making content for now 4 years now.
Yeah, I was going to ask how long you've been at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just last week, I got my very first sponsorship deal. I was super pumped about that because that, it's not about the money, but the money helps fuel the mission. It helps me be able to continue to make great videos. I get to go to Cisco Live this year because of my YouTube channel. And things like that. My YouTube channel bought my Cisco Live ticket. So, things like that is super exciting. And I know I'm going to go to Cisco Live, and I already have some great interviews scheduled with some really high-end people there at Cisco that I'm super pumped about. So,
yeah, that's got to be a cool feeling to know that because of the work you've put into your content creation, you're getting something tangible out of it. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Congratulations on, you've been doing it for a while and like you've just gotten better. You've just been
I can talk about it all day. I think my passion for content creation is almost as equal to my passion about technology.
I wish I could get there. That's admirable.
Well, and it's so satisfying when someone leaves you a comment saying, "Thank you for creating this video. You are the reason that I was able to land this job."
Yeah.
Or, like when we did our holiday giveaway, I gave away like 10 one-year subscriptions to INE. And, I had someone actually call me saying, thank you so much for doing this. I've been wanting to start studying for the certification. And if it wasn't for this, I would never been able to afford it on my own. So
that's cool.
That's just
awesome.
special.
I was going to say, not to mention, so the content creation, you have a Discord server that's all based around the content creation and the process, right? How's that been going?
I do. It's been slow. So I have a Discord channel for my YouTube channel, the Bearded IT Dad, and then I created a Discord channel just for content creators in the tech niche, because there's tons of other content creators, and you can't view them as competition. But we all need to work together in this content creation space to help each other out. So I created a Discord for a space for us all to collaborate, to share ideas, because there's only so many hours in the day for me to actually learn something new. I think I've said that several times today. I'm only one person. I only can do so much. So I built it as a way for us to leverage each other's knowledge and kind of help each other level up. And it's been great to be able to connect with other content creators and figure out ways they work. Like when I got my first brand deal, I reached out to you guys about getting a media kit, and you guys sent me your media kit so I could learn how to build my own. And it was super empowering. So, I always welcome anyone who's a content creator, no matter what size of channel you are, to come join, especially if you're in the tech niche. We're all about tech creators, whether that's, IT, it's, unboxing videos, tech related. I just wanted to create a space just for us, like a little niche, to try to help each other out.
Sorry, did you say what the name of that server is?
It's just called IT Tech. Sorry, I don't even remember my name of my own server. It's IT Tech Content Creation Server.
Okay.
So we have like 44 members. We have people with like 3 subscribers, and then we have people with, I think one of our largest channels in there has maybe 300,000. 300,000 subscribers.
Wow. Whoa.
Cool.
So yeah. So we have people from all walks, and we just try to just help each other out, build community, because at the end of the day, it's all about that again.
Yep. It's all about community. I gotta say, that's a theme for our podcast as well.
Yep.
It's all about the community. Yeah.
Sure. Well, Dakota, we appreciate you joining us here and telling us your story. I really, as you were talking to us about how you came up in your IT career, I was really drawing some parallels to specifically John Capobianco and Carl Zellers. I mean, they had similar stories of, especially John. I mean, it sounds like he had a really similar job to what you had before you got into IT, and really just hit that point where I don't want to do this anymore. I need to find out what I really want to do. And then Carl had a similar thing. He was at one of those package delivery services. I don't want to say the name because I can't remember if he wanted us to say the name or not. And same thing. He had a really good gig going, and he actually took a pay cut, and had to have the whole family discussion, saying, "Yes, I know I'm taking a pay cut, but long term, I think it's the right plan." And that's got to be hard to do. So it was cool to really draw those parallels between different people in the community. We all have different stories, but a lot of times those stories intersect, and it's really cool. So as we wrap this up, where can people find you? What is the name of your YouTube? Let's talk about that Discord again. Let's run through them all.
Absolutely. So you can find me on pretty much any social media platform at the Bearded IT Dad. Mainly, most of my content revolves around YouTube, but I'm on TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, the Bearded IT Dad. I have a Discord server for the Bearded IT Dad as well, and then I have a one for tech-related content creators, IT tech content creators on Discord as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Dakota. You can find us on the socials at Art of NetEng, artofnetworkengineering.com, cablestoclouds.com, at Cables to Clouds on all the socials as well. Lexi, Chris, thank you for joining us. This has been another episode of The Art of Network Engineering. See ya.
Hey there, friends. We hope you enjoyed listening to that episode just as much as we did recording it. If you want to hear more, make sure you subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher. You can also give that little bell rascal a little ringy-dingy so you know when we release new episodes. If you're social like we are, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at ArtOfNetEng. That's Art of NETENG. You can also find us on that weaving web that is the internet at artofnetworkengineering.com. There you'll find our show notes and some blog articles from the hosts, guests, and other friends who just like getting their thoughts down on that virtual paper. Until next time, friends, thanks for listening.